Back again with another one. Bad News Brown breaking it down. Let's talk a little boxing because we had quite a night last night in boxing. So first thing is Shakur Stevenson continues his winning streak and he goes ahead and beats on Cepeda for the win. Now, see, the thing with Shakur, a lot of people in the past accused Shakur of not being an exciting fighter. But if you know boxing, you know Shakur is the real deal. And again, he proved it with the win. Although I will say, after the fight, Terrence Crawford, Bud gave his commentary. And he was like, Shakur stood on the ropes a little bit longer than necessary and sustained a lot of unnecessary blows that he didn't have to. So, y'all take that how y'all want to. Being Bud is obviously more experienced in boxing. I'm going to take his word for it. And I've seen it as well during the fight. But regardless, Shakur got the win. So shout out to Shakur for the win. But the highlight of last night wasn't Shakur at all. Edgar Berlenga. Berlenga got knocked out pretty bad. He got spanked on. Now, prior to this, Berlenga was a knockout artist. I mean, I think he went like 18-0, all knockouts, and then none of the fighters go past the first round. But a lot of people were saying, well, he needs to fight more experienced fighters. And he fought Canelo, and he lost that, of course. But he got handled pretty decently by Hamza Shiraz. And Shiraz put tips on Berlenga. Shiraz had that Tommy Hearns fury. The way he was zapping, Shiraz, he actually moved up in weight to fight Berlenga. And you couldn't tell the difference. Shiraz, a little tall, a little lengthy. And he handled Berlenga. He put tips on him. Dropped him 3-4 times. It was definitely an upset. And I'm glad I didn't bet on this fight. Because I probably would have bet on Berlenga. But, again, that wasn't even the highlight. Although it was, it's the whole Berlenga and Oscar De La Hoya thing. See, prior to the fight, during the pre-fight commentary, they was going back and forth something tough. Of course, he banging on De La Hoya about them old photos of De La Hoya and them boxing gloves and that, what the hell was that he had? A negligee or something. So Berlenga, he had a bag full of panties, even threw out money like, De La Hoya was a stripper or whatever, And De La Hoya definitely was getting back on him, basically saying, use a paper fighter, ain't none of your knockouts worth a damn. You ain't even really Puerto Rican. I'm more Puerto Rican than you. So during the fight, Berlenga got served and De La Hoya got the last laugh. De La Hoya actually posted a video after the fight laughing, and he had on the same wig that Berlenga threw at him. So that was real funny, man. And a lot of people saying Berlenga needed that, to be humbled. So, and I'll let y'all decide on that. As we know, fighters, they gonna talk. It's, to sell the fight or whatever. But they was definitely, this wasn't even fighting. They was just hitting below the belt, airing each other dirty laundry, I guess. But De La Hoya got the last laugh. Because Shiraz was actually a De La Hoya fighter. And Shiraz handled his business quite decently against Berlenga. So, as we know, it is levels to this here. And Berlenga ain't ready. So, and a few of the commentators was even, they threw Canelo in the mix like, man, Canelo, you didn't handle Berlenga like Shiraz did. So, hey, man, you better watch yourself, so to speak. That's what I took from him because you're going to always have new fighters emerging at the top, waiting to take your spot, moving their way up. I mean, and there's a saying, no, when you ain't practicing, somebody else is. And when you face him, he's going to beat you. And fighters, because fighters in any other guys in any other sport, when you at the top, you may let off the gas, you're partying a little too much, having a little too much fun, you're not as disciplined, you're not training, and the next fight you just start getting sloppier and sloppier until ultimately you get put down. And this happens a lot of times. A lot of fighters get humbled, so to speak. And on the side note, this is one of the reasons why Mayweather is who he is. Because Mayweather stayed disciplined. All the smack Mayweather may talk, all the high siding, every morning Mayweather training, whether he fighting or not. And speaking of Mayweather, recently, he been getting on. Him and Roy Jones Jr. been going back and forth. And this is pretty much because Roy Jones basically said Sugar Ray Leonard could beat Mayweather. And I don't know. And I remember an old interview of Sugar Ray Leonard addressing that. And he said, of course, he can beat Mayweather. And because, as Ray Leonard said, I fought his daddy and his uncle, and I knocked him out. So, but Mayweather ain't his daddy or his uncle either, though. But I would say the majority of people will probably swing Sugar Ray Leonard way. Me, I'm not sure, because I like Mayweather. I like his discipline. I like how he get down when it comes to this in the ring. But Sugar Ray Leonard was something else, especially during that era. That was like the golden era, my golden era of boxing. So, and hypothetically, if they was to fight, Sugar Ray definitely will bring the best out of Mayweather, because if not, he's going to get dropped. He would be going down. And on that notion, they interviewed Antonio Tarver regarding that, the whole Roy Jones and Mayweather little tit for tat. And Tarver, and if you don't know, Antonio Tarver is the only dude that knocked out Roy Jones Jr. for the most part. Pretty much put an end to Roy Jones' career, because as we know, it was over for Roy after that. But Tarver was saying, like, for one, it's not cool to even be making comparisons about who fighter would win against this other fighter if they both was in their prime. He like, man, every fighter, man, every man did what he had to do. It was great for their era, and that was it. You can't take nothing from none of them. And I like how he put it, you understand? And he also said he gave Roy his props, because as we know, Roy was a beast. He one of the best that ever done it. And Tarver was like, hell, if I didn't knock him out, nobody else definitely wasn't going to do it, and Roy would still be on top even right now. And I believe him, because didn't nobody do it like Roy. Roy made it look easy. He made it look very easy. He did it with style. Roy was a clown, but he was blending your ass for sure. That nobody did it like Roy. His highlights, watch his highlight reel and you'll see. So Roy definitely got a place. And Mayweather, in response to it, Roy Jones had said about him not being able to beat Sugar Ray Leonard. Mayweather just posted a video of him watching Roy Jones get knocked out, pretty much. And it's whatever, they both great fighters. I'm kind of like how Tarver said, like, man, y'all both, for one, two different weight classes, but you can't take nothing from either one of them. Now, of course, Mayweather is 50-0, and that's quite impressive, but another thing that was mentioned was that, hell, a lot of fighters went 50-0 before they got their first loss. I believe Julio Cesar Chavez, he went damn near 70-80-0 before he got his first loss, And speaking of Julio Cesar Chavez, because he's actually my greatest Mexican fighter. for me. He's my greatest. And, you know, we got a lot of great Mexican fighters, Hispanic fighters, but to me, he's my all-time great because in his time, he was a beast. You know, I remember, I forgot, was it who he beat? Hector Camacho or whatever? I believe it was him. It was somebody, and they was asking him, like, you know, want to do, you know, a rematch or in a fight? He's like, man, we can fight next week. Like, he ain't tripping. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, his son didn't have the same, I'm going to say, discipline and prowess as his father. And I actually peeped that a while ago. I forgot who Cesar Chavez Jr. was fighting. But, you know, it was an interview and, you know, Senior Pops, he coming at him like, hey, man, son, you know, check this out, giving him some tips or whatever. And you can see how the son, he just like, he wasn't even tripping. He having too much fun, you know, and it kind of remind you of sometimes like how good times may breed soft men, you know, and this is probably on average, not in all instances, but usually because he didn't have to get it out the mud like Pops. Pops got it out the bud and struggled, so you didn't necessarily have to like that. But still, your craft, you didn't take it as serious as Pops. And you got all of the things, the accommodations, so to speak, at your disposal for you to be the best, and you're not taking advantage of it. And he got into other things because recently he just got arrested. They basically trying to saying he was linked in with one of them cartels. So he got bigger problems other than boxing. You know, this was good for the sport all in all. You know, Berlenga getting dropped, Shakur with his win, and all the commentary before and after, especially between that De La Hoya and Berlenga. That kind of really stole the show, if you ask me. And then for Berlenga to go in there and get dropped like he did. So De La Hoya was clowning. You know, everybody was pretty much clowning. A lot of people said Berlenga needed to get humbled, and he definitely got humbled. So, but y'all let me know what y'all think. And another thing, because Shakur mentioned, like, he won't Tank Davis. He coming for Tank. And I don't think he can beat Tank. That's going to definitely would be a damn good fight. You know, Shakur, you know, he got that D, counter punching. But you ask me, and I may have said this before, Tank jumped off the porch a little bit before Shakur, Devin Haney, you know, Ryan Garcia and Teofimo and all them. So I don't really see none of them beating Tank. Now, if Haney, if he was to fight Tank, and I always said this, if it go to distance, D. Haney may win, but if not, Tank gonna get him. Because Tank ain't nothing to play with, as we know. And Tank, he got, even though he's still young, he got a lot of outside the ring issues, but when he in that ring, for the most part, he does his thing. You know, he got that wild baby in him, so he definitely a fighter. But yeah, it was a lot going on in boxing. There's still a lot going on in boxing in the sport, man. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Y'all tell me, should Shakur and Tank Davis fight? Or Devin Haney or anybody? Tell me who y'all think should fight, man. And what y'all think about that Berlanga loss, man. And De La Hoya clowning him, getting the last laugh, man. That shit was crazy, man. But I'm out, y'all, man. Bad News Brown breaking it down real quick for y'all, man.